actually, like, of course it's sunny and gorgeous here in California, but for the past couple months, we have not had sunny and gorgeous. Welcome to the Dog is Good Lifestyle Show. I am Gila Kurtz. I am one of the co-founders and co-owners of the company. And I am so excited about our guest today because honestly, Joe, I had a video pop up on my Facebook feed and I was watching it and I was like, oh, this guy is so fascinating. And I just forwarded it to our fantastic team here that reached out to you. And they're like, guess what? Joe wants to be on the show. I was like, yay. So I was so excited to do this interview. And I am also super excited because I actually have one of our Dog is Good fans who's also a Dog is Good pop-up shop owner and a leader in our Fur Covered Wisdom program here with me today personally. She's sitting over here on the couch. You can't see her just yet. But hey, Rhonda. Yes, she would like you to come visit Hawaii.
I don't know if my van can make it out there.
I know we're gonna have to like tie you to the to the plane, get you out there. But anyway, so I'm so excited to introduce you. But before I do, I want to welcome everybody who's popping on now. I know that you have plenty of things that you could be doing, so I appreciate that you're joining us here today for our conversation. And really, it's a conversation about shift in lifestyle and how the dogs impact some of these choices that we make and the directions and the journeys that we choose to pursue in the course of our lifetime. So a lot of great stuff. Hi, Dory. Yay, Dory's on. I'm excited that you're here. For those of you who are popping on, please share with your friends. And also remember that we do a giveaway, which I'm going to share with you right now what we're going to be doing. So you can enter to win. And that does last through the next 24 hours. So for those of you who don't get to catch us live, you can certainly enter on the replay. So considering that our guest today is a former professional football player of the Tampa Buccaneers, we have as a giveaway our Game On hoodie.
Nice.
Very apropos. And in honor of your dog, whose name I absolutely love because I'm a military spouse.
Yeah, pretty incredible. She's the best.
Yeah, totally. So Joe's dog's name is Freedom. So we have the Freedom magnet and a Freedom tote bag. So this is a good giveaway today, you guys. And you're going to get to learn, and there's Freedom right now. You're going to get to learn about Joe's new company and new product that he's going to be releasing. And he is going to be putting that in the giveaway package as well. It is a macadamia nut snack. So I'll just let you tell him about that really quick, and we'll come back to it again in our conversation. But this is going also in the giveaway.
Yeah, it's a MCT-based macadamia nut butter in a single-serving 1-ounce pack. For those of you that are on the go, need a quick fuel after a workout or in the morning. It's hard to get breakfast, but it's a healthy option for those of you that are on the go. That
would be me. So yeah. I welcome I welcome them. I have a drawer right here beside me that's filled with my those kinds of special bars that have the MCT oil in them and the MCT oil. And my packets of tuna fish and all that yummy stuff that you have to eat on the go. But anyway, so you guys enter to win. And if I'm going to mention it now, and I'll mention it again at the end of our interview today. But if you are not receiving words of wisdom from your very own dog, you are missing out. And so I want to invite you to sign up for Fur Covered Wisdom. It's a weekly dose of inspiration that comes to you every Monday from your very own dog. And it's funny because we get lots of emails in response to that every week that their dog seems to tell them the right message at the right time when they need to hear it in their life. And so check it out and enjoy that too. And so Barbara, I want to welcome you, and James as well. That must be, that's Kalia's boyfriend.
Hey, James.
Awesome. Okay, guys, you're in for a treat. I love stories like yours. Totally love stories like yours because what I know to be true for myself, and the more I share this with other people, I'm beginning to see that I already knew this. I'm not unique. We all go on our own journeys, but it's interesting how the dogs who enter our lives really can transform and shape the course of that journey. So let me introduce you guys to Joe formally, and then we'll just dive right in. And certainly throughout, you can ask questions as well. But this is Joe Hawley and his rescue dog, Freedom. 2018 was an absolute game changer for Joe. He was a former lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he always had a notion or a desire to do a cross-country road trip. And when the Buccaneers did not pick him up in 2018, this 29-year-old, so young,
30 now.
this 29-year-old thought it was the perfect transition opportunity to hit the road and experience life with freedom, to go wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. I love that. And now I kind of get the name Freedom, why you named your dog. Maybe
fits perfectly, huh?
Totally. What's extra interesting is he donated all of his possessions to charity. He bought a van. He adopted this beautiful traveling companion. He has a boxer mix and appropriately named Freedom, obviously. And they hit the road in April of 2018. No end date in mind. Sketchy roadmap in hand, and just set off on a new adventure to experience life in a very different way. And so it's an interesting story because not everybody has the courage to just pick up and go. So I am really curious, like in the moment that you discovered you weren't picked up for the next season, and I would imagine as a professional football player that one assumes or anticipates that this is the career path that you're on. So in that moment, what was going through your head, and what made you decide to go, you know what, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and take off?
Yeah, I mean, it was a slow process going through. Football is obviously a hard sport. My body was falling apart, and so I knew for a couple of years I was coming to an end. And when it was finally over, I didn't have the opportunity. I actually had a few other opportunities, but I decided to walk away from the game because it wasn't something that really made me happy anymore. I was playing for a paycheck, and I just didn't want to be one of those guys that woke up when he was 50 with a bunch of money in the bank, but really unhappy and not feeling good. And so I made a decision to go buy a van, hit the road, and kind of find out who I was without football and do a little bit of self-discovery, and learned a lot on the road, and very thankful for Freedom because without her, it'd be a completely different experience. It's kind of crazy how we found each other. Rescued her like a month before I hit the road, and she's been the best travel companion. She loves the road, and you're right, like without dogs, our animals, like they just make all the difference, and it's amazing.
They do. So had you thought about having a dog for a while, or what prompted that? Did you sense that traveling alone might get lonely, or what was?
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted a dog on the road with me. I actually went through a breakup about 6 months prior, and I had a dog with her, and she ended up taking the dog. So I had a little bit of a void there. So I knew, hitting the road, I knew the road might be a little bit of a lonely place, and I thought it'd be cool to have a dog with me. Definitely make the experience. I'm so glad I did because, the nights alone at the campsites, having her with me has made all the difference. She loves snuggling, and, she has a lot of love to give, and I'm very thankful for her.
Yeah, it's so true. I think, one of the most powerful things about having a dog as a companion, especially in those moments, and I think sometimes also for men, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's something that's very powerful in being present without having to talk, right? Guys, girls, we're talkers, and guys sometimes not so much. And not to say that's for all men, but we have a saying here too, that it's great to have a dog, and many times conversation's not required. You can just be present. And yeah. So
the love that they have to give without expecting really anything in return. And if you're having a bad day or something happens, they're going to cheer you up. They're always constantly in the present moment. That not a lot of stuff gets them up and down. So it's really nice to have that anchor of emotional stability.
I like that the use of that word as an anchor. That's a really good metaphor. So 29, quite honestly, you're young, and yet at the same time, incredibly wise to recognize that in the profession that you started off with, that was not bringing, you were seeing that was not bringing you the joy that you, hope to experience. And that once something switches from, you absolutely love it to you're just kind of going through the motions, whether it's out of obligation or to earn a paycheck, something shifts in us. And the ability to step away from that it takes a lot of courage. A lot of people don't do that. They just stay with what they know.
Yep.
Now, obviously, part of the decision was helped along because if maybe it had been different had you been picked up for another season.
I was ready to be done. I walked away. Yeah. It was
so
tough.
You're like, yes. Okay. So as you started this journey, I am curious, what were some of the thought processes that you went through along the way? I mean, it's been almost a year. So how could you identify some transformation as the journey began? Because you start off and then, 2 months in, you're in a different place. And then 4 months in, you're at a different place. What are the thought processes that you went through or are currently still going through as you're on this journey of self-discovery?
Yeah, so when I originally decided to hit the road, I really went for myself to kind of figure out who I was, what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to experience a little bit of my freedom. I've been doing football for my entire adult life. I wanted to know what it was like to just hit the road and not have to worry about the regimen and being ready for something and grinding and put my body through that and all the stress. And so I thought it'd be cool to share it via the blog. And then the blog kind of took on this bigger thing than I kind of imagined. And a lot of people started reaching out to me saying how I inspired them to make a change in their life, either through, diet, nutrition, health, wellness, or just, being more positive. Or, there's a couple people that reached out that like lost their jobs and they were miserable. And they said they started following me and they had a change perspective. Because one guy was like, I was miserable. I lost my job. But then I realized after following me that the job that I lost, I was miserable at anyway. And so I started looking at it as a blessing and an opportunity to kind of get into something. So he ended up getting a part-time job for less money, but he got to spend more time with his family and his kids for a year. And he said it's a completely different experience. So just hearing stories like that really inspired me to kind of reorganize everything. So after traveling for 7 months, I moved back to Tampa for the last 3 months and bought a new van. And I'm kind of reorganizing my blog so that I can try and really grow it. So now started my first trip off kind of for me to figure out what I wanted. And I found purpose on the road through sharing my story. And now I'm kind of hitting the road again in the 2.0 version kind of for everybody else and trying to share and spread that message.
Yeah, that is so powerful. I had a conversation with some people the other evening about how we all aspire to experience happiness. We all want to find joy in our lives. We all want to feel as though we have certain emotions that work for us, that are productive and that we want to experience on a regular basis. And then there's always those emotions that are unproductive, that don't serve us. And in the conversation, what we were sharing is how important it is sometimes to try to help others achieve those levels of emotion that we are striving for in ourselves. And in doing that, by giving to others through inspiration or creating an environment that, brings joy into other people's hearts, that we end up in turn receiving that ourselves along the way. And so it sounds like this 2.0 version, this next round, is about that. It's about serving as the inspiration to remind people and let people know that we do have a choice. And sometimes in those moments, actually, I'm going to ask you, what would you share with people now as far as when you're faced with a challenge, when you feel like you're trapped and you have no place to turn? How does one find the courage to step through that threshold in order to make the shifts that they need to make?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are scared, obviously, of transition. And I don't think you should run away from those emotions and those fears. I mean, that's just natural. Even me, now I still this trip. I was on the road for 7 months. I kind of know what to expect. I'm still getting those emotions of fear that come up, but not judging yourself for them, but kind of realizing that, those feelings of uncomfortability or fear are usually your heart and your soul trying to guide you on your life's purpose. And if you lean into that stuff and end up overcoming it, it's going to help you grow exponentially. And that's usually like if you're unhappy at something and you're having those feelings, there's a reason. And so try and let your soul guide you by trusting those feelings and that gut intuition and leaning into them. And just know that transitions are scary, but every time I've gone through a transition in my life, it's always led to the best next thing. And it's scary because you don't know a lot of people or a new situation, a new routine. But when you're in something new and something novel, it actually is something that like rewires the brain, and it makes more connections. It makes you more aware in the moment, and it helps you grow. And if you get stuck in the same routine, the same job that you're unhappy at for your life, I mean, there's not going to be any growth there. And I think a lot of people, if they leaned into those fears a little bit more and trusted, their gut, they'd be a lot happier.
Yeah, it's such a really valuable lesson there. I feel like oftentimes as people, we get stuck because of that fear. And it's almost like this Groundhog Day. There's all these things that we want to change, and yet we're still experiencing the same thing over and over and over again. In those days when you felt fear or any components of sadness, depression, loneliness, that kind of thing, what was it what kind of self-talk did you have to go through to push yourself beyond that? Because I can imagine, and maybe I'm just being assumptive here, but that in the entire time you were on the road, that there could not possibly have been a day that every single day was rainbows and unicorns for you. Okay. So in the moments when it wasn't, what kind of self-talk, how do you muster up within to push forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tools that I've found that have really helped me. I got into meditation, working out the mind. I like reading books, which helps exercise the mind. I after football, with all this talk about brain injuries and trauma, I try to be proactive. So I got into meditation and reading a lot. Doing yoga helps you overcome resistance and pushing your body and overcoming that uncomfortability. And another big thing is cold showers. Helps with willpower in the morning. If you can tell yourself every morning to get into cold water, it helps build that mindset. And so knowing that when something does come up and these thoughts come up in your mind, to realize that those aren't who you are. Those are just thoughts, and it's okay to have those thoughts. You just can't run with them. You can choose better thoughts and the more positive thoughts, and know that every situation happens for a reason, and not trying to control things that are out of your control. And if you realize you can control your controllables, and that's basically how you react to the world around you, it just cultivates a lot happier environment for yourself.
So you dropped a lot of powerful stuff here. I just kind of want to summarize it for everybody, because you definitely speak my language and I love it. The power of the ability to work on oneself, to go inward, because we do have the power to, control our thoughts. And part of that comes from the type of routine that one sets up for themselves in the morning to ensure, set yourself up for success. The meditation, getting in the cold shower. I have not done that. I do not like cold water.
I realize it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I can see where there's power there, and reading. And then the thing that I love that you just said the most is an element of just surrendering, not feeling this need to cling so hard to control of everything that's going on around you, which when you have a dog is a great example of what, how that just cannot work. They don't try to do that in their lives. And so let's circle back to Freedom for a second. Tell us about that moment of rescue. Like, how did you choose her? How did you know this is the dog for you? What kind of dog were you looking for? Share with us your rescue story.
It's a pretty good story. So I knew I wanted to rescue a pup for me before I hit the road. It was about a month before I was planning on hitting the road, and I started going to local shelters in Tampa. I went to a few different ones, never really connected. I'm a big gut feeling, intuition guy, obviously. I've already talked about that. And did a couple play dates with different dogs, and nothing really felt right. My sister was helping me find. So I went to a shelter in Tampa, Hillsborough County Pet Resource Center, and it's a big shelter. I mean, hundreds of dogs. And so I was walking through there. Did a couple play dates with different dogs, didn't really feel it. Then I walked by Freedom's cage, and she was curled up in the corner, kind of sulking. And I try to get her attention. I kind of, hey girl, come here, let me say hi. And she like gave me the stink eye, like, nah, I'm not gonna come say hi, and like walked to the other side of the cage and was like, whatever. Like this dog obviously is, not into it. Went and played with a couple more dogs, didn't feel right, and I was like, that dog's so pretty, so beautiful. Let me go check her out again. And same thing, she wasn't really giving me any time of day. And then I asked the person that worked there if I could do a play date with her. So we went to one of the private cages where I could actually interact with her. And she still didn't even look at me, didn't come up to me. She was just sniffing around, like trying to get out. And for some reason, I was just like, I know this dog is going to be grateful to get out of here. And so I just looked at the guy, I was like, I'll take her. Like, I didn't ask any questions or anything. I was, I'll take her. And ended up getting her in the car, drove her home. And as soon as we got home, she jumped on me and just like was licking me for like 30 minutes. Like, thank you so much. And the rest is history.
Oh, Freedom, you're so.
She is.
She's beautiful.
She's like, are you talking about me?
Hi, Freedom. Oh, what a beauty. It's interesting. You seem incredibly intuitive, really in tune with your emotions or your feelings, your sense of things, and making the choices based on that, which oftentimes is the better. You're not trying to think through everything so in such detail. So, I would imagine prior to your trip you had a lot of things, and you decided to just give everything away to charity. So, tell us about that. Like, was that a complete cathartic release of belongings, or, what was the intention there?
Yeah, it was kind of a process. I watched a documentary about minimalism on Netflix a few years prior, and I started getting into not needing a lot of stuff because I did get into kind of the rat race of the NFL and making money and wanting the big nice car and a bigger house. And what I realized is even at the highest level where you're making millions of bucks, there's always someone that's making more than you, and you're always trying to get to that next level. And it's just, you're never really going to be satisfied if you put your happiness on external things and need validation from that. And so I started realizing, you know what, like I'm blessed with this opportunity to make this amount of money, but all this stuff is not making me happy. So I wanted to spend my money on experiences. And so that's why I decided to do this trip as well, so I could spend my money going out, traveling, and meet new people and experiencing, cool things with family and friends. And so when I decided to hit the road, I was thinking about, I had a couple options. I could put my stuff in storage, but I knew that would just cost money and it would take up space. And I started trying to sell little items to try and test out like those little apps, like the OfferUp apps.
Yeah.
I remember I put up this lamp for like $10, and I got like 4 hits. And then one person was like, well, I'll give you $8. And I was like, $9. Like, what, $8? I was like, okay. And, well, I'll be there between 10 and 1 p.m.
Right. And
like, okay. So I wait around for him. I'm like, what am I doing for $8? Like,
right.
This is work. So then I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I can get some volunteers from a local nonprofit to come help me move all this, and then I could give it to a family in need. And that would be a win-win, because then I wouldn't have to stress about finding somewhere to put it and sell it, but it would go to helping somebody. So that's kind of what I did. I partnered with Metropolitan Ministries, a local nonprofit in Tampa. They had a couple moving trucks. They came, picked up all my furniture, gave away about 70% of my closet. And if it didn't fit in my van, I kind of gave it away. And it was really an awesome feeling to not only get that stuff off my chest and kind of, like when you declutter your life, it literally feels like a physical weight's being lifted off your shoulders because it's not stuff to worry about. And I got to help a family recovering from domestic violence. So it was definitely a win-win, and it was awesome.
No, complete win-win there. And, you also, again, just hit on a couple of really good points. And there is such a metaphor between decluttering literally and decluttering the mind, and, having some space so that you can think and that you can live. But also the value of our time. It is interesting to me how people will spend a tremendous amount of time and they're not thinking about their own personal value, right? So that example of the lamp, you're hanging out to sell an $8 lamp and at the beck and whim of somebody else's schedule.
Yeah, and it was to me. I was like, I mean, not to sound like anything, but I didn't need that money for that, and I could definitely.
No, totally.
Exactly.
It's just funny how we get caught up in it. We don't even realize that we're doing it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so kudos to you too, though, for making a bigger contribution in somebody else's life. So I I am curious though. You're on the road for almost a year or 7 months at least before going back to Tampa. You had to have had some interesting experiences or unique stories. Or do you have a couple that you want to share?
Oh, I mean, a lot of cool experience. I met a lot of cool people. I think one of the best parts about doing this now in this time with social media and the connectivity, the ability to connect with people has been incredible. I know if I would have done this trip 10 or 15 years ago, it would have been a lot more solitude about me, but I was able to connect with the community and meet different people, like-minded people, and share experiences with them, which was awesome. One of my favorite things was visiting baseball games. I went on a little Midwest baseball tour where I actually went to 13 games in 14 days in 6 different cities.
Wow.
Constantly getting and going, and I have a YouTube video about it on my YouTube channel. That was one of my favorite experiences. Went to a few weddings, but the best part was not really planning it out too much and letting it kind of organically grow. Like I went to one of my good buddies from college wedding in Northern California. And then he invited me to go to Sonoma County with him and his wife and all the bridesmaids because they had like vineyard tickets. But I was like, I'm not going to come on your honeymoon, dude. Like, it's weird. He's like, no, you don't get it. Like, all the bridesmaids are going. I'm the only guy. Like, come with me. And I was like, everybody else has jobs and stuff. And I'm like, I live in a van. Like, I'll come. Let's go. And so I ended up going up there with them. And then after that, they ended up leading me to San Fran, where I stayed with like one of the guy's cousins who I didn't know. And then they told me about Grand Tetons, which is one of my favorite spots, national park too. And then all the people out there trying to experience the world for themselves. A lot of people think that the road's a scary place, and they're like, is it going to be safe? I want to do this, but I don't know if I can do it by myself. And what you realize is there's so many people out there just trying to experience life and find happiness and joy, and they're just so like-minded, just trying to see beautiful places and experience the world for themselves. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah. And, in a time of I think about this on a daily basis, that this is a moment in time when the world is more connected to each other than we've ever been before via social media, via our cell phones. It's like 24/7 connectivity. And yet at the same time, we are more disconnected from humanity than ever before, which is why I believe the connection and relationships we have with our dogs is so powerful and the strongest bond that we experience. Quite honestly, I even think more so than like even in a marriage for a lot of people, or I'm not going to say more than a child, but it's just different. I always joke, like, I do love my kid, but my dog does not roll her eyes at me ever.
It's almost like a one-way love with the dog. Yeah, it's just a special connection.
Yeah. And so, to go on a trip like that and to connect with people, really connect in that way and experience even just being the experience of being alone. A lot of people are uncomfortable with aloneness, just being with themselves, that because we're so used to having to doing stuff constantly. So, well, I want to talk also about, like, you're on the road. How do you, clearly as a football player, you are fit and whatnot. So how do you stay fit when you're on the road? And what are you, I know that we talked just prior to jumping on live about some interest that you have in pursuing, a new venture as it relates to health and wellness for people.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten really into health and wellness over the last year. I actually started doing paleo a few years ago when I was still playing football, and it was hard for me to stick on it because I was losing so much weight and I needed to be big to play offensive line. But I weighed almost 300 pounds last year, and now I weigh about 240. So I've lost about 60 pounds. I've gotten into the keto diet.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for about a year. So higher fats, but just learning about how different macronutrients and micronutrients and different supplementation and how many carbs and processed sugars are in a lot of the food that we eat on a daily basis and how bad that stuff is for you. And so educating myself on that has kind of given me a purpose to help people, because I mean, a lot of people just don't know. They're uninformed, and there's so much access to information now. So learning and absorbing all that, I'm trying to share with people. That's why I created this company, Live Simple. And our first product is a macadamia nut butter. It's MCT oil based, and it's just 4 ingredients. It's got macadamia nuts, MCT oil, chia seeds, and sea salt. There's no added sugar, no preservatives, no that canola oil are preservatives. So it's
kind of like in a little packet, so you just rip it open and
yeah, it's a little 1 ounce pack, and you can rip it and shoot it when you're on the go.
Nice.
It's a great snack. Think of it like a Cliff Bar kind of replacement.
Yeah.
But there's no sugar, and I feel like being on the keto diet really taught me, because you have to start reading labels, because you got to watch the carb count and the amount of sugar, and you start realizing how much sugar is in everything that we buy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, and I think sugar leads to a lot of inflammation, which leads to a lot of chronic disease. Mm-hmm. And we're starting, a lot of science is coming out about a lot of these diseases that people are coming down with, directly related to inflammation and sugar consumption.
Yes. So I'm curious, because in the dog world, there is a lot of conversation these days around keto diet specifically for the dog. So do you tend to follow that with for Freedom as well, or
the keto diet for her? But I've actually started feeding her raw diet, and I've been doing that for a couple months now, and her coat is a lot healthier, a lot shinier. She has a lot more energy. She really was, on the road, I was trying to find her a good food and the kibble, and she just really wasn't happy about eating. And so my sister said, she's like, your dog should be happy to eat. And I was like, yeah. So now I feed her the raw diet and give her some raw beef and pork and some frozen broccoli. She loves it. And it made all the difference. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a lab, and so labs will eat anything, and they're very, very happy to eat anything and everything, as mine is here on on the floor. All right. So I have a couple questions as it relates to Freedom. And you guys too, if you want to, pop in some questions, please feel free to ask. It's an interesting story. I mean, not everybody can just pick up and go, actually we all can, but most of us won't for various reasons. So some great experiences in doing this. But since Freedom came into your life, what are some of the greatest lessons that she is teaching you?
She's taught me that gratitude is everything. Rescuing her from that shelter, seeing her in the corner, just down and sad. And she wears her emotions on her sleeve. She communicates very well. She's very vocal. And so to see her so upset, and then kind of when I saw her light up when we first got home, I could, she knew that, like, wow, you just saved my life. Like, don't let go of me ever. And she reminds me every day still. That hasn't gone away. She still knows that she's grateful for the opportunity that she's been giving. And so that kind of rubs off on me. And, if I'm grateful when I wake up in the morning, I know it's going to be a good day.
Absolutely. You can't be in gratitude and be in a state of lack at the same time. You just can't. And I always think about this too, that every single person has days where they're just not feeling the best, or whatever. But the moment you shift into that place of gratitude, you realize, oh my gosh, like I am sitting on a chair. I got a computer in front of me. I got a roof over my head. I got clothes on my body. I have water sitting right here on my desk. Like, there is nothing that I really need other than, where I am right now. And there are people out there who are, in dire situations. So how it just shifts your energy almost instantly when you can be. And the other thing that's interesting about what you said with Freedom is her ability to almost, to show this level of excitement and enthusiasm every single day, and how that made you feel. And if we in turn can look at our own relationships with other humans in that same vein, and realize that when we have relationships, there is a power and a joy in that initial connectivity. And it's almost like it's our duty to help maintain that by constantly, giving of ourselves the best version of ourselves as we possibly can. I think that's what keeps enhanced, because you're never going to see Freedom just kind of walk away and just be like, oh yeah, whatever, you saved me, but whatever, right? She's going to have this gratitude and joy in being present with you every single day.
Yeah, and I think what I've realized, and I think what people start realizing, the more positive energy that you put out there, it comes right back to you. And so you kind of draw to you what your mindset is. So if you're always, in a state of lack or kind of miserable or complaining, and you have things to complain about. And you're always like, well, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? It's kind of, you're attracting that to you. When me, like if you're putting out the positive energy, like that stuff doesn't really happen. Like people are happy to be happy right back. And so you got to kind of, put it out there and it comes right back for sure.
Completely. I so agree with you. We are completely on the same page for sure. What are some other lessons though that she taught you along the way?
Oh, that she's taught me to kind of like as a little bit of responsibility. She's always on my mind. I obviously, when I'm traveling, I got to be prepared because I do have her that I got to think about. So when we do drive, like long drives, I'll take her to a dog park, usually when we go to a new city, which actually helps me kind of slow down instead of always kind of going. It's like, okay, let's go take 30 minutes, go to the park, let her run around and kind of just appreciate it. So she's helped me slow down a little bit instead of getting too rushed, traveling.
I so agree with that. During the workday, I could sometimes not realize I've spent a few hours without taking a mental break. And then Bula will come in with her ball or something. And I know like, oh, okay. And sometimes I get ready to say like, okay, just a minute. And then I'm like, no, she's been patient already. I just need to get out. And I'm so happy once I'm outside for sure. So tell us about, I just want to make sure that everybody knows where they can find, do you have a website now for Live Simple?
Yeah, Live Simple with no E. So LIVESIMPL.com. That's the nut butter. You can get a pre-sale is up. If you type in pre-sale 19 at checkout, you get 10% off. And then I have my manvanDogblog.com.
Okay, I'm gonna type this in because my crew that normally does this for me, they are at training today, so I'm actually doing it. So tell me the code again.
Pre-sale 19. All one word.
19 at checkout. Awesome. Oops. And the blog is
manvanDogblog.com. My website is under construction. I actually hired somebody this year to redo it and reorganize it so I can actually put more content up there. I'm going to do a little bit more written content this year. Try and share more stories from the road and give people more value. I actually got a little interactive map I'm putting on there too to kind of see where I've been and where I'm going.
Cool. When are you coming back out to California?
I'll be out there probably in the fall. Definitely around October, definitely into November because I have an event I'm doing out there in November. So,
what event are you doing?
The Summit Series. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got invited to go to that. That's in LA in mid-November, I think.
Who puts that on?
I'm not sure. It's kind of crazy how I just, got drawn to it. I just talked to the recruiting coordinator like a week ago.
Are you speaking there or you're just attending?
No, just attending.
Well, you will have to come over to Dog is Good. We're about 40 miles south of LA, but I think you and I need to connect on a little bit of fur-covered wisdom stuff.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
We are on the same page as far as a lot of this mindset work and the lessons learned from our dogs. So, do you guys have any questions for our guest? Yep, I like what James just said. Don't complain about the things you're not willing to fix. Very true. Very true. And in fact, if you look at your dogs, they do not complain, even if they cannot get to something. Like I just watched Bolo try to get access to some toys that were on a shelf, and she didn't get all mad and frustrated and go yell at somebody because she couldn't reach it. Just looked back and wagged her tail, and suddenly we all tried to help her with whatever she needed. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I am so thrilled to meet you, Joe. Thank you so much for taking time. I want to connect with you offline. I want to thank all of you for joining in. Please share his story. To me, there's just so much that we can learn from our dogs. And when we allow our dogs to play a bigger role in our lives beyond just companion, but really to see the world in a different way and to take action on that, so many doors can be opened. And I want you to just fill in the blank though on this sentence. Dog is my
everything.
Ooh, I like that. Dog is my everything. I like that. And Kalia just said here too, dog is my freedom. She thought you might say that.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
Dang
that's
it.
so true. Dog. No, they're both good. They're both good.
We got to keep it just genuine, authentic, right? Whatever came out.
Yes, for sure. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for joining. I do want to remind you that we do have a giveaway that you can enter. I apologize, I cannot quite recall the link that they put in, but we'll put that in shortly, or maybe if Janelle is watching, she can pop that in. We'll have that up shortly, but we do have an enter to win. Joe is kindly donating macadamia nut travel packs for you, and we have the Freedom Dog tote bag and car magnet and a Game On hoodie in honor of his game day football playing days. So anyway, thank you so much, Joe. You are awesome. I love your story. I want to connect offline, and thank you everybody for sharing your afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. Join us in a couple weeks. We do this every other Wednesday. And if you are not already in the Dog is Good private lifestyle group, please join that. And because we do a lot of fun things in there. And please also sign up for your Fur Covered Wisdom as well, so that you can get some notes of advice and inspiration from your very own dog. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day. Oh, there we go. Janelle put in the link. Thanks, Janelle. Take care. Bye-bye. Joe, you stay on for 1 sec.
Okay.